back in studio. We want to train our focus, looking at the role of engineering in nation building, just tracking where this particular practice has come from, looking at the achievements, the impacts, the significance of engineering in our country, and also the challenges, the loopholes that still exist, and what various stakeholders are doing to mitigate that. Not forgetting the World Engineering Day coming up on the 4th of March, and what this day pertains to this particular practice. That is what you're set to converse in the next 50 minutes. I am holding court with Engineer Eric Ohangam, who is the President, Institution of Engineers of Kenya, IEK. That is to my far right next to him is Honorable Engineer Kiragu Shege, the Member of Parliament, Limuru constituency, and also right next to me is Engineer Erastus Mongera, Chairman, Engineers Board of Kenya, EBK. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Good to have you.
And thank you so much for your time. I just want to latch on this particular conversation, starting with you, Engineer Eric. We are talking about the role of engineering in national development. I was just telling you earlier how this is one of those very key and important sectors in our country. From your practice, why is it so?
Thank you so much, Doreen, and I think I'm happy to be here today. And I recognize the fact that for any country to develop, and I normally draw my attention to countries in the Asian tigers, like the Singapore, after seceding from Malaysia. They developed because of the role of an engineer. And that's what we are seeing even as a country, that for us to achieve our Vision 2030 of becoming a middle-income economy, this is going to be achieved by the engineers in this country. We have the power, we have the competency, we have the skills to achieve exactly that. And I know with that, we are in for good things to come. Thank you.
Looking at achieving a vision of 2030 of being a middle-income economy as a result of engineering, we'll momentarily look at that in a short while. Let's just look at the programs therein into this practice as far as achieving that is concerned. But then, Honorable Kiragu, Honorable Engineer Kiragu, I shall call you by all titles. Just talk to me about the progress that this particular sector has had over time, from when we only had the Royal College, which is now University of Nairobi, as the only school training engineers. Right now, it is across board. Where have we come from as a country?
Okay, thank you, Doreen. I think even before we get there, for those of us who believe in God having created the world and having had a command for people to be fruitful and multiply and fill the world, we see the role of engineer as one that addresses the needs of the people. In this country, at the time of independence, we know our preparation was not that much. It has grown, and in fact, even like the teaching of engineering started just very close here, the Royal Technical. But as of today, we can count over 10 or so universities which offer university engineering courses, and also other called technical colleges, that like the polytechnics and others who have also been very key to development of engineering. But when we look at the country, you don't need to go far. This studio, you see the things that has changed from the cameras, digital cameras, to remote microphones. In this country, at the time of independence, we had very few, like the dams, for example, Sasumwas, now on the Roiro. But now, Dakaine, you look at the way we were transporting, for example, like the petroleum. We installed a pipeline from Nairobi, Mombasa to Nairobi. You look at the trains then, they were steam driven. They moved to diesel electric locomotives. We now have SGR. When you look in every sector in this country, including manufacturing, you find that there has been a lot of inputs in engineering for us to achieve where we are. Look at the power generation. We started with the hydro, we went to thermal, then we have now gone to geothermal, we are in wind and solar. So as a country, we have achieved a lot, There are a lot of challenges, but as a nation, I can say that this country, and I say that without any fear, it has been a leader in the region in terms of engineering practice. It has provided support to the region. I know one time, in fact, the regions, including Zambia, used to come and train their railway staff in the railway training school. So as I look back, even myself, I remember the days when we were looking for work, and even at the training in the university here, you find that in fact the equipment that we were using were, for example, the slide rules, that's what we were used to in calculation. You look at what is there today, the application of computers. But above all, if you go to the manufacturing and you see the application of computer design and manufacturing, you'll find that this country has moved. Yes, we have challenges. We are part of the international community. Challenges are there, but as a country, we have made a lot of progress.
I hear you. You know, you just talk about training, and there's a part that I want you to elucidate a bit further as we momentarily move with this conversation. Nonetheless, talking about education engineer Erastus, what is being done to ensure that indeed the quality of engineers being churned out can be able to meet up to the industry's demands?
Thank you very much, Doreen, for having us today. As my colleagues have said, engineering is a very precise science, and things must be put in place to fit, and what is learned must be applied practically. For that reason, there is a collaboration between the academia, the universities who are teaching courses, and the industry. And in between there is a regulator who is Engineers Board of Kenya, where our main role is to ensure that standards are made and maintained, and that the programs taught in universities, the engineering programs taught in universities, are relevant to the industry. And therefore, there is need for those programs to be looked at, evaluated, and then accepted by the regulator. And the way this is done is to involve both the academia and the industry. They come together, they go to a university, they make sure that that course, it has enough competencies who are teaching, the faculty are the right, have the right qualifications. Also, there are facilities, like if it is a telecommunications program, like lending to people working in a studio like this. They have studios like this where they can demonstrate and do all that. If it is a mechanical engineering, they have workshops and laboratories where materials can be tested and all that. And then again, we'll make sure that those students are exposed to the industry in their training by organizing attachments, so that whatever they are learning in theory can be seen in practice. And by the time they graduate after 5 years, then they are competent to be licensed as graduate engineers. The story doesn't end there, because they are also required again to do another 3 years of practical training, or what we call graduate engineers internship program, where they are now attached to professional and consulting engineers who are working in the industry, and they are trained practically, and then they can be licensed to be professional engineers.
So what you're saying is basically there's a consolidated effort as far as trainings, education is concerned to churn out qualified engineers. Still sticking on that note of training, Engineer Ohanga, you did touch on that aspect of wanting to ensure that we realize the Vision 2030 and being a middle income country. So then what programs are this, as far as this practice is concerned, to ensure that we do achieve this? Because now we're just 7 years to this 2030 that we've talked about over time.
Thank you so much. In terms of the numbers that you're talking about, and I think we have a very strategic plan to push the numbers of professional engineers to 10,000 in the next 4 years. And at IEK, we have a very robust mentorship program that actually ranges from very low level from actually primary school. You're talking about sustainability, and when you talk about 50 years to come, how is our outlook going to be? And therefore, we need to encourage our young people right from primary school to start thinking about STEM subjects. And therefore, that mentorship goes low into those particular cadre. And then we move to high school again to be able to mentor the young people at that particular level, so that then they start to focus to undertake engineering courses when they choose whichever university they want to go to. Again, we move to the universities and continue with our mentorship program until they graduate and come out here. And of course, once they graduate, they undergo the mandatory graduate internship program. And also as IK, we continue to mentor them through disciplines that have already been established. We have the 4 conventional disciplines, that's of electrical, mechanical, civil, agricultural engineering. So we capture them from the graduation, and then we get them into those academies. We start to work with these particular engineers so that we can mentor them into becoming professional engineers, so that these numbers can then grow to the numbers that we are talking about, so that...
The 10,000?
The 10,000
okay.
We are looking forward to.
I hear you.
Yes.
You're talking about technical subjects, STEM subjects. Currently, where we are as a country, we are even having that conversation of TVETs and STEM and technical. But then, at some point, we sort of like even converted the technical schools to universities. Case in point, Mombasa Polytechnic, just across down here in the city center, what was called the Kenya Polytechnic, to now Technical University of Kenya. So then how do you begin reshaping, redirecting towards what exactly all of you are talking about in this set?
I think I'm one person who was really opposed to converting like Kenya Polytechnic and Mombasa Polytechnic into universities, because my experience in the field was that in fact not many engineers can survive in the field and their practice without support of technicians, and these very important institutions were the major suppliers of qualified technicians, to support the practice. And I used to work for railways, and I knew that if you wanted somebody who was a hands-on, somebody who can leave the institution and get to work, whether it's a boiler or inspector or a machinist or something, you actually relied on the 2 polytechnics. However, now that certain things happened, you have seen the government, and particularly this current administration, really focusing on the creation of the TVET in every constituency, is because we know that for us to adequately provide for the expected amount of development that is projected, we need to grow our technicians and the artisans. And I can tell you some of the issues that you are finding out there, like in the building collapsing, is because you have one engineer for a certain area and a certain project, but the people who are dedicated to doing the actual building, actual supervision, are these people who actually have to follow what the engineer has designed. And you find that somehow these people have not been properly trained, they have not been properly certified to do certain things. So I think it is a good thing for us to redirect ourselves, mainly to make sure that at whatever level of engineering, whether it's a welder, that he can be qualified and certified to do certain things, so that the jobs that maybe even Kenya was not ready to do, like for example repair of a ship in Mombasa, where you require underwater engineering, that we can have a certain college that is specializes in that kind of a service, so that even ourselves we can tap into other services, or for example KQ, I'm sorry to say, you'll find right now that some of the, what we call NDT services, the checking of cracks in the wings or landing gears and all that now they have to do it in Amsterdam. I know that in fact this is a service they used to do. Maybe the technicians have retired or they are no longer there. But we should be able to train some of these technicians to support this kind of work so that we enlarge this cake. And Kenya becomes a service center for many other operations.
Okay.
And for us, I know I am sitting between the two important people in this country. And I think with the government and the Ministry of Education and the players in industry, this is achievable, and we can generate people who can support the vision, as you say.
I hear you. You want to,
Yes, just want to, what Mheshimiwa said, the role of an engineer basically is to design structures and then supervise and make sure that they are constructed or built according to the design. The universally accepted ratio of the professional, the technician, and the craftsman is 1 to 5 to 25. So in a construction site, an engineer should be able to supervise 5 technicians. And then those 5 technicians will each supervise 5 artisans at different levels. You find in Kenya when we stopped producing technicians and craftsmen, because technicians were trained in polytechnics and the craftsmen were trained in vocational centers, carpenters, plumbers, and so on. You find now the rate of attrition has become very high, and these people are very rare in the industry, the technicians. In fact, the most well-paid people today are technicians, like plumbers, because they are not available, as opposed to engineers. So that is why the government is focused to say, as reverse this overproduction of engineers and produce technicians and artisans so that they can fill that missing gap.
So from where you sit, you think there's been, training has been ongoing and it's good, as you all did say, but there's been a bit of a loophole as far as technician is concerned. So then, do you think that is part of what has brought this big challenge of the fact that, especially when you look at any time we have mega projects as a country, for instance, when you had the expressway being put in place, right now we're talking about the Ronnie Mau Summit Road, not forgetting what this government is mulling over, the 200,000 affordable housing units every year. In fact, we've seen the president almost everywhere he goes to, he does launch that. And the biggest issue as far as this project is concerned is that our very own, we give them menial jobs and we have tendencies to import human resource, almost clearly everything. That bit of not having enough personnel in that regard, is that what has brought us to this particular point?
Thank you so much, Doreen. And I think I want to weigh in from the point of professionalism.
Okay.
And in these particular projects, from the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, we believe we have the people, we have the skills that are capable to perform these particular duties. And when you talk about the affordable housing, actually we are following up with the National Housing Corporation so that now we know where is the role of an engineer in these 250,000 houses that we want to bring on board every single year. Because we know from design, from construction, and also maintaining of this particular infrastructure will require the services of engineer. So we have the database and we want to work together with the government agencies so that we can play a critical role in provision of these services that are required so that the country can develop as it were.
But you're saying trained personnel, skilled personnel are there.
Yes.
We should focus on our own more, a little bit more.
Sure.
In fact, Doreen, when it comes to like the affordable houses, I think the president is very clear on what he wants to achieve. He wants to engage as many as possible local people, giving them an opportunity. For example, if you have 1,000 units, the question is how many windows are there going to be there? How many doors? How many sinks? How many, And if you...
Is this regularized or is just, as the president says, word of mouth?
No, he is really, and it's something that has been thought through. If you now have tenders, for example, where you say, I need people in Juakali to supply, say, 100. Yeah? It is possible for our people to be involved. But if you have a tender for 50,000 of windows and whatever, and then you start saying that somebody must show track record of has supplied similar number, you'll find that our local people will not have a chance.
They don't have
and that has been a problem. Even when you come to road construction, you want to do a road from Mombasa to Nairobi, and then you start saying that you must have a turnover of I don't know how many billions, and then you say one must have demonstrated having constructed a road of 500 kilometers. So what you're actually doing is to say no local person should try. But should you put this in segment and say for every 5 kilometers you're looking for a contractor, you'll find our people having an opportunity. I'm saying that because of many other tendering systems that we have in this country, which are skilled to make sure that our people do not get involved. So I think as we go forward, one of the big challenges we have as engineers, because we are also involved in a tendering system, is to tender or put a tender policy and scheme to ensure that we provide local people an opportunity.
I hear you.
Yeah? But if you tender in a way that actually you make sure that they do not qualify, then we kill ourselves.
Well said. Well said. And I want us to move to the World Engineering Day. But before that, you sit in the legislative arm of government, Mheshimiwa.
Yes.
So then, just listening to what you're saying, do you think we need to have like regulations for this? More like laws put in place? Because let me tell you, it's good to say it, but the implementation process of this is always the key challenge. Why I ask this also because when the CS Road and Transport was being vetted, it's one of the key issues that came to the fore. We train our own. Engineer Ohanga just said, from the skill-based train perspective, he's very confident. It's one thing to say it, it's a different story when it comes to implementation.
I can tell you for sure, because I also practice engineering.
Yes.
And I can tell you, sometimes to do things in this country is so difficult because you get unfair competition from outside people. People who sometimes we do not know, but they come here with all shades of flowers and experiences to a point where sometimes we give them work and deny ourselves. But I think as a government, as our people, the most important thing is to know that we have trained like the engineers. We have invested in them. So we must engage them. And that's not only for engineers, but also for doctors, for all sorts of people that we train. And if you look at our immigration, you will see that nobody can come to work here unless there's somebody to understand that person. In fact, it's a requirement that if somebody comes, you must indicate who is understanding that person. But you find that even our immigration does not work. Yeah, they don't follow. So that the next time when you're asking for a similar person, they should be asking, what about the person who was trained by the other one? So you find there is a loophole where it is exploited by the people out there. The other thing is that there are people, and you cannot solve this thing by registering everything. That
having laws
in fact, we must know that we must fight for this country.
But we are a law-abiding country. Why won't we have laws in place in that regard?
The laws are there. Let me tell you, we have more than...
I want us to make progress in this conversation because when you stick on that part, we barely cover the World Engineering Day. But I hear what you're saying. When you look at that in that regard, there's really quite a lot that needs to be done, especially as it pertains to just ensuring our very own are equally prioritized when it comes to this project. I mean, when you look at 200,000 affordable housing units in a year, it's very important to have our very own included in some of these projects.
But I can tell you, in this program, I think our local people will have an opportunity.
Okay, well said.
Yeah, let me also on there and say, engineers, technicians, and craftsmen in this country are very well trained.
Okay.
Professionally trained. And there is a mechanism of engaging an engineer. For example, no engineer should be employed unless he or she has been licensed by the board. But, and no, even foreign ones, they are supposed to get what we call temporary license. But you see, as my colleague has said, some of them find their way through immigration and they start working without following that procedure. So if all the arms of government can cooperate in this, then there will be enough jobs for us, engineers locally here, and for those foreigners out there.
Well,
so, but there is no doubt that the engineers are very professional and very highly qualified.
Well said. Thank you for that. World Engineering Day coming up on the 4th of March. Engineer Ohanga, why is this important? It's actually an annual event?
Yes, it is,
yes.
Which was proclaimed in 2019 on the 40th General Assembly by UNESCO, and is supposed to be celebrated every 4th March of every year. And this is basically to look at the role of engineering and the engineer services and what the engineers have been able to do for the betterment of humanity. So we are seriously looking forward to this celebration. Worldwide, it will be held in Madrid, but every single professional body in each country that is a member of that particular World Federation of Engineering Organization will be doing their own celebration. So we are looking forward to do this. IK together with EBK will be hosting this World Engineering Day at Nairobi University, and we have a number of activities that have been planned for this particular day. Thank you.
So that's since 2019?
2019.
So this is 4 years later?
Sure.
What has been the progress?
The progress has been good. The main purpose of this day is to create awareness on the importance of engineering, on the role of engineers, and to encourage young people, especially students, to be aware of what they expect when they enroll for engineering programs. We started, the first celebrations was held in 2020 at the University of Nairobi. We had a procession just to create awareness and speeches that were given. 2021 and 2022, because of COVID, there was a slowdown. We mainly met virtually, mainly, and there were a few people sitting somewhere for physical meeting. But this year again, we'll be meeting physically in the University of Nairobi, just to create this awareness and to listen to what different players in engineering are saying, so that we can see, we can pick those issues and see how to improve on what is on what is happening. Let me maybe say also, IK, or Institution of Engineers of Kenya, is I'm board member of Federation of African Engineering Organization, and also I'm board member of World Federation of Engineering Organizations. And whose auspices this World Engineering Day is held. And the idea is to bring engineers together, let them think together that they mainly create awareness of what is engineering, what engineers are there for, and remind the community that engineers are there for you. What the president said about the 10,000 is the same year that UNESCO declared this day as World Engineering Day. They also commissioned the results of a study which they had carried out, and they came with a recommendation: in a middle-income country like Kenya, we should have a ratio of 1 engineer to serving 5,000 people. And that means in a population like ours of 50 million, yes, then we should be talking of 10,000 professional engineers, not any engineer, because a graduate engineer is a professional engineer in making. After 3 years, he or she should be able to set a professional examination and become a professional engineer. And one of the major activities is to create awareness, encouraging graduate engineers also to take their professional examination and become professional engineers, and just let the Kenyans and the rest of the world know the engineers are there. They are all engineers. Go to greenfield and build an environment which is settled by other people. Like you are talking of them affordable housing. Yes. Those houses are being built in empty spaces, and then Kenyans will go there and live. It is engineers who venture first and others come later.
I hear you. Well said. Mheshimiwa, when you look at these days being commemorated, being marked, also just looking at what IEK does, EBK does, quite a number of activities here and there, from where you sit, do you think that this will in one way or the other make us, even just as a nation, appreciate the practice that is engineering? Look at this profession as a serious profession that it needs to be looked at with high regard that it deserves.
I do, Doreen, and my prayer is that, in fact, you know, we have two registrations, one for the engineers and another one for the technologists. And my prayer is that at one time we can harmonize these two bodies so that they are one in a way that they can work for the same profession.
Okay.
They help each other and they recognize each other and the role that the technologist and the engineer is playing. But above all, I hope that this kind of a day will bring up some of the challenges that we have as a nation.
Okay.
This country is very good sometimes in doing new works, but we are very poor in maintaining. Whether you go to the medical field, whether you go to the roads, you go to our plants, the sugar factories or whatever, we are very poor. And if we can address the issue of maintenance and train people who are competent to maintain our plant and equipment, and the rest of the infrastructure, including the dams. You remember, like the accident we had with the dam. It will help us.
Tragedy?
You remember there's a tragedy in Nakuru, and we have had many. You remember the Gaidavia Railway accident, the pipeline, Morongo fire, the pipeline. There are certain things we can do better. But the good thing is, if we are able to maintain our infrastructure, then the cost of doing new works will always, be reduced.
Okay.
For example, the roads, we are the people who see a pothole develop into a crater, and then we have to do the whole road. So my prayer for this event is that we discuss some of the challenges that we have in the country. We appreciate that we have enough people who are competent to deal with various roles that we need to do, but also help this country to know that there is much more we can do and provide the rest of the region, particularly from a service point of view.
Thank you. I hear you. Now, looking at what Mheshimiwa is saying, that we look into the challenges of this sector, just what Engineer Rastas has said, creation of awareness as a key main agenda for this day. In addition to this, what more?
Yes, there will be a lot of exhibition which are innovative in nature. In fact, we are looking forward to women showcase what they have done over the last few years, and therefore there will be an exhibition that will be exhibited by the women and also the young people. And I want to say that Kenya is also privileged to have made it to the finals for the World Federation of Engineering Organization in terms of the Hackathon Awards. So on that particular day, we are looking forward to the announcement, and we hope that the Kenyan finalists, there are 6 of them, and Kenya is one of them, will be announced as the winner. Last year, we had, on 2021, we had an opportunity to become the first runners-up, and we are looking forward to having this as the winner in this particular year. In other branches, we have 8 branches across the country. They have planned various activities on that particular day, which will be beamed live, just to show what they have to offer in terms of contribution towards the reduction of climate change, to our environment, and other activities in the various parts of this country, like Mombasa, Eldoret, and Nakuru, and Kisumu. In this case, it will be in Kakamega. So we shall be having several other activities in this particular regard.
Okay, so quite a lot happening on that particular day.
Sure.
And I was just looking at this question from one at Engineer Ndolo, not on the World Engineering Day, but still on this subject matter. And the question is, looking at the National Construction Authority of Kenya, that is NCA, Engineers Board, saying that both of these institutions, they have distinct function. And his question is, at what time does NCA allow Engineers Board to enter and inspect construction sites? Did they investigate the previous cases of collapsed building? Has anyone been charged with this? At what point does NCA and Engineers Board come in conjunction as far as these numerous cases of collapse of buildings that we've witnessed, reported, covered? If I get you, Mheshimiwa.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Doreen. Engineers Board of Kenya regulates engineers.
Okay.
National Construction Authority regulates contractors.
Okay.
And both are mandated by acts of parliament. And we don't need permission of NCA to enter and inspect a building because Engineers Act 2011 empowers us to do that. And what happens is because the contractors work under supervision of engineers, where there are irregularities picked by NCA, then they normally report those cases to us. We carry out independent investigations, and where found culpable, we discipline the engineers.
Okay.
We have so far disciplined 2 engineers, and at the moment we have about...
Is this in relation to what we've witnessed late last year, or what?
Yes, those collapses you have seen and so on. We have disciplined 2 engineers, and we have about that being investigated in this matter. So really there is no conflict, there is no permission required from each other because we complement one another. To make it easier also to work, we have organized ourselves, the 3 regulatory arms of building industry. That is ourselves, NCA, and the Board of Registration of Architects and Quantity Surveyors. We have a forum where we meet every quarter and share our experiences, our findings, and see how we can move forward. We have gone ahead and developed a memorandum of understanding, which was approved by the NG and is put in place. And this memorandum of understanding enables us to work together. If there is a site visit, for example, instead of one going alone and the other one going and so on, we go as a team and we make report. Or if MBK goes to a site before NCA and the Borax do, then we make a report and share it among ourselves.
So there's no conflict in terms of roles?
No, there's no conflict. We are working very well together, and we support one another because the whole idea is to have an organized built environment. We have structures that stand or test of times, and we eliminate these collapses. Okay,
well said. Mheshimiwa, you are the Member of Parliament, Limuru constituency.
Yes.
One of the 12 constituencies in Kiambu County.
Yes.
A county where we have witnessed quite a number of these collapses. Not to say that across the country this doesn't happen, but in just last year alone, in a span of 1.5 months, 2 buildings had gone down. What is happening in Kiambu?
Doreen, this is a very important issue. Of course, it touches on the issue of design, construction process, and sometimes there are also other outside factors. In the same period that the buildings were collapsing in Kiambu, for example, there were over 10 other tremors in Limuru, which left buildings cracked. But you see, when a building collapses, to people, we have now this already stereotyped kind of reasoning that, oh, it is the contractor is don't know what. So we are very quick to come to conclusions. I have requested, in fact, the relevant ministry for somebody to report to me and to the other people in Limuru. What was the magnitude of these tremors? What effect they have? Because, you know, Rift Valley and particular region of Naivasha and this Nairobi area, and particularly Muru, is very close to areas that are considered to be unstable. So I would want us to discuss this issue much more, give the engineers and the relevant experts to deal with specific cases. Because I would like to know if the buildings were cracking in Muru, and within that particular window, buildings collapsed, but all of a sudden they stopped. So the question, what actually happened? Because if it is a problem, I don't think this is something that you can switch on and off. So to me, and my good friend here, Engineer Mugera has said, I think it's important that we, as a country, we deal with this issue of rogue consultants, rogue contractors, so that even the counties themselves, they should also be honest enough to let people know whether they even have capacity to even supervise, to approve certain buildings. Because as I know, and I have worked in this area of building inspection, particularly where we apply the nuclear technology, electromagnetic thing, to check the structural integrity of buildings. I think the country has the technology, there are enough engineers, but we need to be honest, particularly at the county level, to establish whether they have the capacity to deal with these issues. If they don't have, it is good, like the institutions, to be informed that in fact we don't have enough structural engineers, we don't have, so that this issue is not hidden under a certain shade of people not doing their work properly. Maybe the people to supervise are not enough. Yeah? Or there are other issues which, for example, like, don't know, geotechnical surveys that are done before you do a building, whether we have really done enough work other than just construction, because there could be other things which will affect the building.
I hear you. And you just did talk about earthquakes, and sometimes there are some causes of nature that we may not have control over. Just borrowing from what you're saying, do you think also the counties might take the flak on this? Because you realize, that especially when it comes to approval of these buildings, they happen within the county level.
Yes.
So is someone, and I can see also Engineer Hanga is quite agreeing, so is someone somehow missing their role as far as this is concerned, so then we'll have these perennial cases of building collapsing nonetheless?
If you asked me, we would like to really look into the national construction, the capacity within the county, and see where there are gaps, so that people can discuss and see how they can help. When this accident happens, we as a country lose the human or the material losses that we incur. So it's a national problem. But I think it's not something that we can leave to various areas without particularly the institution getting involved. But they will not be involved if people are not honest enough to say that in fact we don't have enough people to say approval. The other thing is monitoring. You find that a building that was approved for 3 floors is now 7 floors. So you wonder, for them to go from 3 to 7, where were the people who are supposed to be monitoring? So some of these things, they need a national conversation. Even NCA, do they have the capacity themselves to go around? Or there is something they can say, okay, be doing this on our behalf. Because it's a question of making sure that we do not lose as a country. But organizations, they should be honest enough to come and say, we actually are not ready, or we don't have capacity.
All right, so then what is this, Engineer Ohanga, as the President IEK? Is it a matter of organization or different institutions not being honest enough? Is it a question of human resource capacity? Is it a question of people just oversighting? Just as the way Mheshimiwa said, some buildings will be approved for 3 floors. After some time, it's going to, and we've seen that over time. What really is the biggest issue as far as this is concerned?
Thank you, Doreen. And I think yesterday we were having a conversation with the CECs in charge of roads and infrastructure in Lake Naivasha Resort. And for sure, it is very apparent within the counties there's lack of capacity. As we speak right now, we require additional 1,700 engineers in those particular counties.
Which counties are this?
All the counties in this country. In fact, it's only Nairobi County.
1,700 in each and every county?
No. about 47 per county.
Okay,
so that one makes about that number that you are looking forward to these particular counties.
Okay.
It's only Nairobi that has about 17 engineers. Other counties don't even have single engineers. You can imagine that. And approvals are being done. But this discussion of collapsing building requires a full disclosure in terms of the professional in the whole value chain, of course, from engineers, architects, quantity surveyors. So when we come together and these particular professionals are available within those counties, then we should be able to make progress. So as Institute of Engineers of Kenya, we have developed a scheme of service for engineers because we also realize within the counties, they are not able to attract and retain these particular professionals because of the entry levels of those engineers and other professionals within the county. So we are engaging the PSC and also Salary Remuneration Commission so that if that scheme is approved, then the county should be able to harmonize their scheme of service to be able to attract, retain, and have those engineers in those counties, and then we can be able to move forward.
So what do we do? 1,700, about 47 in each counties. Just before you come in, Engineer Rastas, money is being released to the counties. What the Treasury is releasing is only 385 billion for counties to share this amount. Treasury has said there's no enough money, so to speak. You are just saying even employment of these engineers is a tussle. So what do we do?
I think there would be a better way of doing things, and engineers always have an alternative to any problem. As we speak right now, we have over 3,700 professional engineers. We have consulting engineers in this country to the tune of 170 consulting engineers, and they are available. If these counties require and they feel that they don't have this capacity up to now, we are saying these services can be outsourced within a very short time, and they'll be able to provide services to those counties from professional engineers and also consulting engineers as they recruit and maintain their own.
It's underway. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. In last year, we carried out a structural assessment of sampled counties because of these collapses. And what came out apparent is there was no professionalism applied to most of those buildings which collapsed. There were no structural engineers that were engaged. And we made a report and made recommendations. I am happy to say here that the counties have taken this report very positively. 2 weeks ago, they are under retreat, organized by the Council of Governors in Mombasa, and they invited the regulators, and they acknowledge the fact that they have these shortcomings in terms of staff.
Yes.
And as Engineer Waga said, we recommended to them that they don't have to have these people permanent, but they must have licensed engineers who can then approve these buildings and who they can send out to supervise and make sure that, to inspect and make sure that these works are done. And the licensed engineers have been equipped with engineer's card, with engineer's stamp, and their skill of fees to apply. So really, all structures have been put in place.
Thank you.
And therefore, there is nothing lacking. The 1,000 or so requirement of employees, that can come later, but there are engineers who are in private practice who can be engaged on a contraction basis and do this work.
I hear you.
Doreen,
yes, as we finish, very quickly.
For all the buildings, particularly the approvals, the county charges for these approvals. What they need to do, the amount of money that they receive out of these approvals, they dedicate some of it to these other functions, so that it is done professionally, and they have no cost to themselves. In actual fact,
you're raising a very big issue right now. Conversation. Counties are just saying they're grappling with pending bills, but when they receive money, whether it's from the counties or from the national government, they're thinking of paying salaries instead of hiring and development. So really, it's quite a lot to discuss as far as that is concerned. Nonetheless, I do appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming and your valuable inputs into this conversation. Highly appreciate it.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
I have been speaking to Engineer Eric Ohanga, To my far right, who's the President, Institution of Engineers of Kenya, that is IEK. Right next to him is Honorable Engineer Kiragu Shege, who's the Member of Parliament, Limuru constituency in Kiambu County, and also Engineer Erastus Mongera, the Chairman, Engineers Board of Kenya, that is EBK. What has formed center of our conversation is looking at the role of engineering in nation development, where we are as a country as far as this practice is concerned, looking at the impact, significance therein, and some of those challenges and how best to seal those loopholes. Good place to end this conversation from me and on behalf of the entire team. Asante sana. We pave way for Parliament. Coming up next.